Get Rich Education is brought to you by Reef Oil and Gas Companies, partners in American energy production for world consumption.
Welcome to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold, giving you information and ideas on the investment that has turned more ordinary people into millionaires and billionaires than anything else, and can provide you with more wealth and happiness than you ever thought possible. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, and educator, Keith Weinhold.
Welcome to Get Rich Education, Show 17. I'm Keith Weinhold. Thanks for being here. I want to talk to you today about the importance of taking action. Not just any action, but the right action. Educated and informed action. They say knowledge is power, a quote attributed to Francis Bacon, but that's since been improved upon. Oftentimes it's knowledge plus action equals power. Well, that's definitely true in investing. Your mind is your greatest asset. Go ahead and consider this. You own your mind free and clear. There is no debt obligation on your mind. There's no mortgage against your greatest asset. You own your mind free and clear. Your genus and species is Homo sapiens. That means wise man. You are the only creation that has the ability to think, reason, create, and then choose your own destiny. The fact that you possess intelligence and a free will makes you unique in the animal kingdom. You have the ability to be fruitful and multiply. That's abundant. Do you know how fortunate you are? Everything that you need is already there for cultivating an abundance mentality. You already have the infrastructure right there inside your head to develop an abundance mentality and have more in life. You need to master a new way to think before you can master a new way to be. You've probably heard sayings in life like, you get what you deserve or you get what you earn. Consider, too, that you get what you settle for. Look, those that often live the greatest lives, the most successful and abundant lives, are not the smart, but rather they're the bold. You grew up living your life based, frankly, on some of the worst advice that I've ever heard. I did too. It's that well-intended yet dream-crushing, be sure to live below your means. Why do people say that? Or some might say, live within your means. Advising someone to live below their means, that stifles ambition. That leads to settling for less in life. Scarce thoughts lead to scarce actions. And then scarce actions repeated become scarce patterns, and scarce patterns repeated become a scarcity-based life. You'll always be limited. You won't live the life that you could have. That's thinking things like, it's a good idea to first use the internet to search for the cheapest gas station before I fill up the car, and I'll even drive extra miles to get there if I have to. That's thinking like, I'm going to track this credit card point system that rotates quarterly to get 20% off my Verizon phone bill. Live below your means. You take that to heart as a kid, and then you're not even trying out for quarterback of the high school football team, right? That's living below your means. Be the mascot instead. See, live below your means doesn't make sense there, just like it doesn't in a financial sense either. Live below your means is not the best use of your time, resources, talent, opportunity. You are limited to the amount that you can cut to the downside anyway. Well, when you embrace abundance rather than scarcity, you have an unlimited upside, plus you're living better anyway. That's expanding your means. That's thinking, last year I added 1 rental unit to my portfolio and I went on 2 vacations, and this year I will add 4 rental units, go on 4 vacations, and I'll launch an internet-based infopreneurship business. Which one of those 2 scenarios aspires you to be more of what you would rather be? Which one says I can't and which one says I can? living below your means, or using that time to expand your means. Of course, the abundant approach of expanding your means says, I can. All those things are aligned. All right, well, that's thought-based, and then you need to convert that thought into action. Because there is a gap between believing something and knowing something. The difference between believing and knowing is doing. Doing is what closes that gap. Well, how do you get experience? It's by doing. Abundant thoughts lead to abundant actions. Abundant actions repeated become abundant patterns, and abundant patterns repeated become an abundant-based life. That's unlimited. If you want to know how to prosper, you have to know how to deliver something of value to this world. The world financially rewards those people that bring value to it. And we need to move that toward action. Do you think that you bring more value to the world by reading more and more books and listening to more and more podcasts and only doing that, or by providing more clean, safe, affordable, and functional housing to people? Well, you'll best be financially rewarded when you do both, but it's mostly the latter because that's the result of an action. Let me put it this way. Would you rather learn and be mentored from someone that's read every last Rich Dad Advisor book and Brian Tracy book over the last 2 years, yet they still haven't invested in real estate? Or would you rather learn from someone that has reasonably educated themselves with some of those resources and has accumulated 3 fourplex buildings over those same 2 years? Which one of those two people do you think that you could learn more from? Well, you know it's that second person that has balanced both. They got educated and they had the experience of doing. See, that's the value of experience, transforming belief and knowledge into action. I don't think that means that one should take massive action as soon as they hear about some good investment either. I mean, take some time, study, learn. That's called due diligence in real estate investing, especially when it's applied to studying one particular property. That's due diligence. Your life and your investor life are intertwined. I mean, this whole thing is a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to live a long time, and I expect that you're going to invest well for a long time too. Looking at a long-term horizon, which is a smart way to approach most anything, here's how it's going to look if you take 3 months to get educated on real estate investing. Check this out. 3 months to get educated on real estate investing. That's what you do now. Fast forward 5 years to the year 2020, and then you're either going to say, 5 years ago, I got some real estate education, and buying some real estate has changed my life and expanded my opportunities. Or then there's the other scenario, if you didn't study for 3 months, and then in 2020, you're going to say, 5 years and 3 months ago, I bought some real estate without being educated, and it was a horrible experience. I sold at a loss. So do you now see how insignificant that 3 months is going to feel over the longer term? So you do need to learn, but sooner or later, you have to act. One good thing about real estate investing is that it's slow moving. You can still get into the wrong investment for sure. But from the time you write an offer until the time that you close a deal, it can take a month or two. I mean, there's a number of actions that you have to take along the way, and therefore you have time to think and reason and decide over and over again. And this is what I'm talking about. As soon as you establish your deal criteria, then initiate some action to figure out your financing, shop around to buy a property, decide to initiate more action by writing that offer and attaching that earnest money check to it. That earnest money check is a deposit that shows that you're serious about the property, usually for 1% or more of the offer price. Then you get the offer accepted. Then you have the action of initiating the property inspection with a qualified inspector. Then you have an appraisal that meets or exceeds your contract purchase amount. Then you or your manager stabilize the tenant base. There's a lot of actions there. Now, there's 3 early specific actions I suggest that one takes to help do this. Number 1, attend your local RIA. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Number 2, get pre-approved to buy an income property, or use your existing equity in a 1031 exchange or a cash out refi. And the third one is to actually physically go visit some properties. So number one, attending your local REIA. REIA, R-E-I-A, it stands for Real Estate Investors Association. Most cities have at least one. My city of Anchorage has a few. REIA meetings typically have a main presentation for the evening. Often it's about a local real estate topic. Outside of that, you can network before and after the meeting, and often there's breaks during the meeting where you can network too. I've said before that real estate is a people and numbers game. That's where the people are. You get ideas, advice, education, networking. You can meet a new friend that has the same interests. You can learn about a particular deal. Problems and questions that seem all new to you are things that more experienced people at a REIA have already dealt with. The fact that you're meeting people in person is so valuable. It gives that person a know, like, and a trust factor in you that you couldn't get on the internet. I mean, if you had just watched the webinar on the internet, you wouldn't even meet the other attendee. Consider, too, that investing is largely an individual sport. I mean, did you ever consider this? Most investors work largely by themselves because when you're an individual investor, you're not working at one company. You can't talk in the lunch break room or around the water cooler. Well, REIAs give you the outlet to finally do that. What's working for you? What isn't? I mean, by attending my local REIA in the early days of starting out, I found out about a $10,000 incentive to upgrade to a more efficient heating system in a fourplex, for example. Sooner than later, I'd find out if you live in a market that can produce positive cash flow, and if it does, then start asking about crucial property manager recommendations at your REIA. The second concrete action is get pre-approved to buy an income property. Not pre-qualified, but pre-approved. Whether that's a property in your home market or a turnkey real estate investment in another market. Pre-qualification and pre-approval are different. Pre-approval is better. Mortgage loan pre-qualification is more of a discussion between you and your loan officer about your credit, assets, and income. Pre-approval is a running of your actual numbers, credit, assets, and income. So pre-approval is more substantial. From the time you submit your documents to your mortgage loan officer, it might take 24 hours for you to get your pre-approval letter back. Your letter will define the exact loan amount that you qualify for, and it typically expires after 90 to 120 days, so you want to get with a good real estate agent as soon as you have your letter. Consider this. An agent is going to be more motivated to work with you when you have your pre-approval letter. They'll know that you're serious. You're not wasting your time. And also that agent will know not to show you properties priced well above the loan amount that your pre-approval letter dictates. And it's making a good use of your time too. That way you know what you qualify for and you know what you can target. So that's a pre-approval, okay? Which is better than a mere pre-qualification. Sitting down with your mortgage loan officer can be so valuable. There's just so many different loan programs out there, and they're almost always changing. It's so valuable to keep up with this. I mean, every time I sit down with one of my mortgage loan officers, I have different ones for 1 to 4 unit properties and ones for multifamily 5+ unit properties. Every time I sit down with one, I come away thinking, wow, I just learned something that I didn't know, and that something is valuable. And if it's not valuable to me, I can tell an investor friend about it and improve their life. I just had a young couple come over this weekend so that I could discuss their situation. And being nerdy numbers guy me, I broke a few things down on my whiteboard for them. Sheesh, I'm helpless. They showed me their mortgage rate sheets for the first single family home that they will live in. Now, one of them was a 3% down NeighborWorks program. I had never heard of NeighborWorks. Basically, with an 80% first loan, a 17% second mortgage, and just a 3% down payment from this couple, that's all they need to put down, and they don't have to pay any monthly private mortgage insurance either. So kind of here's what I mean about you don't know what you don't know. In my home state, there are programs where for an owner-occupied duplex, you only need to put 10% down for a fixed rate 30-year loan or 5% down with a LIBOR-based ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. I mean, there's just all kinds of programs, including ones that might only be available in your particular state. Some programs even allow for you to be given a gift from someone else for your down payment. Some programs may or may not require a few months of liquid reserves shown in your account. Some might allow for a credit score as low as 620 like FHA does. Some might be just right for you, but not quite right for you because you have to sell your car to get rid of the monthly payment and fit into the lender's debt to income ratio box, but maybe it's worth it. The thing that's worth it is sitting down with the lender to find out what your options are. That concrete action of talking to your mortgage lender can be a great springboard toward making the right actions thereafter. If you're more advanced, talk to your mortgage lender about using your existing income property equity for cash out refinances so that you can hold on to those existing properties and buy more, or to do a 1031 tax-deferred exchange where you relinquish some of your existing properties and go ahead and leverage that into bigger properties. The first time I did a 1031 exchange, I increased my cash flow, my leverage ratio, my tenant-paid loan amortization, all those things at the same time. Consider this, a mortgage lender has a motivation for you to want to do a 1031 exchange or a cash-out refi because they get paid when new loans are originated. So just let them show you the sunny side to doing a 1031 or a cash-out refi, and then you can try to prove them wrong. And don't fall in love with the rental properties you already own. These properties just secure income streams. Don't fall in love with the property. With sufficient equity, consider using them as a fulcrum to leverage off of into bigger properties. You probably need at least 30 to 40% equity in your properties to go ahead and take advantage of either of those two things. Take action. You don't know what you don't know. The third and final concrete action here is visit properties. When people think of real estate investing, this is often what they think of doing first. It's visiting the property. Well, it's really one of the last things you do. Once you've found a property that meets your deal standard on paper, and meets it on paper first, whether that's a monthly cash flow dollar amount or an ROI percentage, only then will you want to visit the properties to see if it appears to secure that income stream. You'll likely do that in person first, and especially if you buy in your local market, or you'll do it virtually if you're doing it with an out-of-market provider, or you might go out of market to visit properties like I do sometimes. On those walkthroughs, pay attention to major maintenance items like roofs, windows, and HVAC systems that may need to be replaced soon because that stuff isn't going to show up on your monthly cash flow projection sheet. But it can be a significant expense when those major maintenance items need to be replaced. Those big replacement items are called capital expenditures in the business, or you might see some write out CapEx, CAPEX. If you're not sure if they need to be replaced, hiring a property inspector, which is usually something that you would do on the second walkthrough if you're interested, that's something you're going to do before you buy anyway, and that's just a great expert opinion. I strongly recommend that. Hey, we're going to come right back, and I'm going to tell you the 3 things that I would do differently if I could start all over again in real estate investing right here on Get Rich Education. Are you looking for an investment with the potential to offer monthly cash flow and tax advantages? While prices fall at the pump, now could be the time to invest in oil and gas. In business for nearly 30 years, Reef Oil and Gas Companies has endured price fluctuations and understands the importance of creating opportunities by purchasing oil and gas properties during distressed times. Primarily focused on the Bakken Three Forks of North Dakota and the Eagle Ford Shale of South Central Texas, Reef's model is designed to generate revenue and provide tax advantages from the production of oil and natural gas. For more information on this investment opportunity, go to reefogc.com.
Hi, this is Tom Hopkins, and I can't tell you how smart you are. to be with Get Rich Education and make these ideas you.
Welcome back. When I got into the reef, oil, and gas investments 3 years ago, one needed to be an accredited investor. More recently, I've learned that one no longer needs to have accredited status, so it's open to more investors now. Accredited basically means $1 million net worth, not including home equity, and $200,000 per year of income. I definitely noticed the tax benefits of investing in reef too. The government often gives great tax breaks to those that provide society with energy like oil or food or, my favorite, housing. Check with your advisor. That's part of what we do here at Get Rich Education. We bring you investments and ideas that are often only available to the wealthy. Hey, well, we're talking about the importance of taking informed action today, because a lot of times we know what to do. It's doing what we know is where we fail. Often you find that when you act, you learn that what held you back is just the belief that something had held you back. You can do this. Just speaking to those US listeners for a moment here, dude, foreigners come here and crush it. And you think you can't? Of course you can. We don't lack resources. We just lack resourcefulness. This is fundamental. No one gets rich by using their own money. So you need to utilize other people's money. Well, with income real estate, you utilize other people's money 3 ways at the same time. The banks for the leveraged appreciation, the tenants for the income and the loan paydown, and the government for generous tax benefits. So we know that investment real estate is a great way. You know something, when I started out in real estate investing, I like to ask people, often at a RIA meeting, I ask people with experience what they would have done differently if they could start over. It's one of my favorite questions to ask. And their answer, they said they would have bought more and they would have bought sooner. Simple. Each of those are action-oriented answers. I suggest you ask other experienced investors that same question. If you have those people in your network and ask some of them that same question, you'll no longer keep telling yourself, I need to see it to believe it. I need to see it to believe it. Pretty soon, you'll say, I believe to see it. I've been doing this long enough now to have my own answer when someone asks me, what would you do differently if you could do it all over again? And my answer is, I would buy more and I would buy sooner, the same 2 answers everyone else seemed to give me. And the third thing is, I would have hired out property management sooner. I bought that first fourplex in 2002. I could have bought sooner. Then when I bought, I just sat on it for a few years until I pulled the equity out and bought more property. Well, back in the mid-2000s, things were different. Lending rules were really lax. The pendulum was kind of completely on the other side from where it is now. Shoot, I could have had 3 fourplexes in those 3 years rather than just 1. Values were appreciating so quickly then that sufficient equity accumulated fast. Also, back then, there wasn't any firewall between loan officers and appraisers like there is today, so appraisals came in really generously high, if you know what I mean. Plus, you could get 90% LTV loans, loan-to-value loans, on duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes then. Basically, that means you only needed to keep 10% equity in them. I could have been playing with multiplication rather than addition. Wishing I would have hired property management out sooner revolved around what I was hearing from most people back then, mostly scarcity-minded people, telling me that, if I hire a manager, then you have to pay for them, and you just need to manage the manager rather than managing tenants. Well, that's true, but it's easier to manage one manager than 20 tenant families, and my return on time invested increases substantially because I've got someone else doing that day-to-day, belly-to-belly stuff for me. If I would have expanded by multiplying, then I would have gotten a manager sooner anyway because I would have had to due to the scale. Hiring a manager sooner would have increased that vital ROTI, making it almost completely passive income, my return on time invested. So that's what I would have done differently. But see what it involves around? Everything I wish I would have done a little better revolves around action, acting sooner. It also shows you that doing the right thing is more important than doing things right. I was doing the right thing, real estate investing, but doing some things wrong inside it. Well, it still turned out well because I was doing the right thing, and I put the right thing ahead of doing everything right. So hope is not a strategy. At some point, you need to act. This gets a little introspective, but just think for a moment about what others have done before you. Your parents, grandparents, and generations before them all paid into housing. They didn't understand that good debt creates leverage and arbitrage. They didn't even contemplate how rental property produces durable income and how it makes money follow you rather than you spending your life chasing money. Your family before you lived below their means to pay off their home and sacrifice time and memories with their loved ones often to work to pay it off. They worked late, they worked overtime, they came home tired and worn out, they limited their vacations, they limited that quality time with their family. They left countless family wiffle ball games that will never be played, fishing trips that never happened. They weren't dumb, families just didn't talk about money as much then. They paid the opportunity cost of settling for less because they weren't educated in the right things to act in a way that has real impact on their and their loved ones' lives. You won't pay that opportunity cost because you're listening to this. Opportunity cost is opportunity lost. At the end of your life, when you look back, what are you going to be glad that you did? What are you going to regret that you didn't do? Let me ask you, do you think real estate will have more value 10 years from now or less? When it comes to investment real estate, what better investment do you know of? Act. If not now, then when? Your mind is your greatest asset. Someone told you long ago to live below your means, but you own your mind free and clear. No one can put a lien on it. Isn't it a wonderful thing that no one can place a mortgage against your mind? It's all yours. Now go out there and don't quit your daydream.
You've been listening to the Get Rich Education Podcast, telling you what the wealthy won't tell you about real estate and investing. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to visit iTunes and leave your comments.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Get Rich Education, LLC exclusively.